Cagrisema data is out for type 2 diabetics, and I believe that we've got some good news and some interesting things to talk about. If you are waiting for the next generation of incretin therapies as a type 2 diabetic, I think that you're going to appreciate the conversation today. And we're going to open a lot of this up to what you want to talk about, because it is a Monday and it's going to be a massive week. We've got earnings calls coming up for both Eli Lilly, Novo Nordisk, Amgen, if you're interested in Maritide. So we're going to get information. I want to get into maybe a little bit about what I'm expecting from some of the earnings calls this week. And definitely let's talk about the data that came out today about Cagrisema. Welcome. If you're new here, my name is Dave Knapp. I'm the man on the Manjaro. This is On the Pen. We bring you patient-centric obesity medicine news that allows you to have more competent and confident conversations with your doctor. So if that sounds good to you, train the Al Gore rhythm. That's the little Al Gore in the sky that decides all of the content that you see based upon how you train him. And you train him by hitting the thumbs up button, hitting the subscribe button, and dropping a comment as well. That all those little things train little Al Gore to do your internet bidding. He is, after all, the creator of the internet. So welcome. It's good to have you here. Again, my name is Dave. This is On the Pen. Everything that we talk about as a reminder today can be found at otplinks.com. That's why we leave that there at the bottom for you. But how is everyone else doing today? I see Dawn is in the house. Welcome. Ray is in the house. Sue the Dude, Valerie, TT, George, thank you for being here. I spent the morning at the doctor's office with my sons, my oldest two sons, who've been sick for like 10 days now. It's been a real fun couple of weeks in the Knapp household because we traded back and forth influenza A and COVID. And if you thought that COVID was over, oh no, it's still around and it can still kick your butt pretty bad. In fact, my wife is just back to work today, honestly, for no other reason than she just needed to be back to work today. She's not feeling the greatest still. So if you could keep her in your thoughts and prayers. It's the first time she's ever really had COVID and then actually gotten really sick from it. And it really hit her hard. And so I think that hopefully she'll get this one behind her eventually. And hopefully next time it won't be as harsh. But man, it's been brutal. It's been a brutal couple of weeks. So I just want to thank you all for being here. S. Strahl says that she's watching from the hospital right now. I hope it's because you're working and not because you're there for a medical issue. If you are, our thoughts and prayers go with you. So Kathleen wants to know what the Medicare on the trial tide. Can you update me on coverage, Medicare coverage on trial tide? I don't know what that means, but I think generally what you're trying to ask is what's going on with Medicare, what's going on with Trump RX, all of that. And so I think that is a worthy discussion today. Before we get into the Cagrisema, let's just give you the latest update. And actually, the update has not changed for the last few weeks. And so if you are a Substack subscriber, on January 4th, we put out a post that I believe is still the best post on the internet in terms of getting you caught up on what's going on with the Medicare thing. So the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS, is formally testing this new pathway for Medicare and Medicaid to cover GLP-1s for obesity. And they rolled out this program called the Balance Model. The Balance Model stands for Better Approaches to Lifestyle and Nutrition for Comprehensive Health. And so essentially what that is the law still prohibits obesity medicine from being covered under Medicare plans. And so in order to get a workaround without legislation, there has to be like a pilot program. And so this pilot program is something that's being run to basically demonstrate whether or not CMS can cover Medicare long-term. So it's a pilot program. And generally how it works is the government has arbitrated the cost of GLP-1s to like $245. That's the government's cost for these programs. And so they'll be able to, in turn, this is announced by CMS, offer GLP-1 medications to Medicare recipients for $50 a month. Now, this all will start in practice. In theory, it starts in the spring here, but in practice, it means it'll start hitting your plans around July of this year. So midsummer, I would expect is when people will start to get coverage. Now, who will get covered? Well, all of the insurance plans had to opt in at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of this month. And by all accounts, that has been great uptake. I'm looking forward to the Lilly earnings call. They've already said they expect 100% uptake, meaning all Part D plans to cover this specific benefit. And the reason is because the government, what they've done under the balance program is they've taken all the risk for the insurance companies on this in terms of the financial risk. In other words, they're not going to lose money to cover these medications. And so it is a trial program set to run just a couple of years, which ultimately sets this thing up to underscore how important it is that we get legislation passed in that time frame, because in a couple more years, we'll have a new administration and they could change everything. And then the rug could get pulled out from under folks living with obesity on Medicare again. Now, for folks on Medicaid, they're going to have the same option, these state programs, to buy the medications at $245 a piece. So chances are most Medicaid programs will take part in that as well. But the long and short of it is the drug companies are already saying, hey, we expect 100% uptake on Medicare plans, and that will start effectively around July. So that's ultimately what we have going on today, is that we've got this balance program that is set to start rolling out in the spring. And then by the summertime, we expect to see folks being able to get GLP-1s for the chronic disease of obesity through Medicare. So I hope that helps. And as far as what the stipulations will be of who gets coverage for this, I think it'll be your standard 27 BMI plus a comorbidity, or a BMI above 30 with no comorbidity, I think is what we'll see. People have asked me a lot about maintenance. Well, maintenance, and I suppose that depends on how your doctor codes your starting weight with the insurance company, but it'll all kind of have to play out, and all of these details will have to be forthcoming. We don't have any concrete answers on that, but we do have Lilly earnings calls this week. We do have Novo earnings calls this week. And from both companies, we expect to hear what their anticipation is, because obviously that drives revenue, right? And investors want to know, when is that revenue going to hit? And so we'll hear what Novo and Lilly are expecting this week through the earnings calls. That's one of the biggest things that I'm listening for. And of course, if you are somebody who is on Medicare and want to stay abreast of what's going on in the Medicare world in terms of obesity medicine, then please follow our sister account, GLP-1 Medicare, over on YouTube, over on Instagram, and over on TikTok. And we'll keep you updated with specifically Medicare updates on those accounts. Now, in the world of GLP-1s, we got some huge news today. Some huge news today from Novo Nordisk on the topic of Cagrisema. Now, if you don't know what Cagrisema is, you may recognize the name Sema from semaglutide, but Cagrisema combines two things: cagrilintide, which is an amylin agonist, and semaglutide, which is a GLP-1 receptor agonist. So it's a dual agonist. We've got a dual agonist in tirzepatide, except that's GLP-1 and GIP. This one is GLP-1 and amylin from Novo Nordisk. And we've been waiting to see. We didn't get the 40-week readout back in October, which, as Jen, our friend over on Twitter, has pointed out, was interesting that we didn't get that data, right? Why didn't we get a 40-week readout? But we did get the 68-week readout today, and we learned that patients on the high dose of Cagrisema with type 2 diabetes over that time frame lost 15% of their body weight, which is a really good number. It's right up there with the longer tirzepatide trials we saw. And so it's pretty much on par, both from an A1C standpoint and a weight loss standpoint, maybe under just a little bit on the A1C side, to tirzepatide. But what gets me excited is, if you are not a huge responder to tirzepatide, the fact that Cagrisema actually has a higher dose of semaglutide in it, and it has this amylin agonist, you may respond better to the amylin side of things than you do maybe the GIP and tirzepatide. Reason being is amylin is a hormone that's co-secreted in your pancreas with insulin, and insulin is often dysregulated in patients with type 2. It is dysregulated in patients with type 2 diabetes. There can be all sorts of things misfiring with your beta cells in your pancreas, and this is going to help your body basically mimic what may be dysregulated, and that would be amylin. And so I'm excited for this specific pathway for type 2 diabetics, because I'm hopeful that for those of you who struggle with losing weight, specifically on tirzepatide, that Cagrisema might be an interesting answer to that. And of course, on the heels of Cagrisema, we'll have orforglipron approved this year. We'll have Cagrisema approved this year. And then sometime next year, we'll get retatrutide, which is going to eclipse all of this and be the most powerful metabolic modulating drug to ever hit the market. Man, I cannot believe how many people are talking about retatrutide online. Now, if you scroll through TikTok, if you scroll through Instagram, you're going to spend about 5 seconds there. And I'm astounded at the amount of folks who are 17, 18, 19 years old who are not only using retatrutide for what they call looks maxing, like, just basically improving your facial features aesthetically, improving your physique aesthetically, using retatrutide as this look maxing drug, but they're also selling it. There are so many young teenage aged dudes and early 20s aged dudes selling research grade retatrutide online, like an astounding number. And this is more than likely the most powerful metabolic modulating drug on the market. And I am astounded to just watch this unfold. I know a lot of you are insulated to this because not a lot of you that watch the YouTube channel are necessarily over on TikTok. But if you are, you have to just be as astounded as I am by the amount of folks that are using retatrutide already, but let alone these young kids that are using it. You got to wonder what the long-term implication is for metabolically healthy people to use these metabolic modulating drugs. It's just fascinating to watch. And I'm sure Eli Lilly is watching closely as well. Going to jump into the chat here and hear from some of our friends. Jen says she uses cagrilintide with her 15 milligram tirzepatide. Lots of folks using the research grade versions of these for sure. Cisteline has been on an 8-month plateau and lost 2 pounds last week. That's amazing. Glad to hear that. Can't wait for the new line of GLPs to hit. I am with you as well. Straw says she's shaking her head. Absolutely. Hambone's hopefully going somewhere tropical. Yeah, Hambone is traveling today. If you missed Hambone, she is in the airport today. We thought about having her join, but it's so loud there and hard to get to a quiet area. So we'll check in with Hambone later on this week. Again, this is going to be a huge week. We've got the Lilly earnings call. We've got the Amgen earnings call. We're going to have a Novo Nordisk earnings call. So a lot to get into this week. It's going to be some bopping live. So make sure you hit the bell for notifications when we go live. We go live again every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 11 a.m. Central. Today was a little bit different because I was at the doctor this morning. But 11 a.m. Central is when we're going to go live. And we're doing that every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And of course, we have the podcast that drops every Tuesday. So make sure you check out the podcast as well. Becky wants to know how the pill's going. The pill's going just fine. I mean, to be honest, I don't notice any change really at all between the efficacy of the tirzepatide and at 15 milligrams once a week versus the 2.4 pill. For me, specifically, the clinical trial data there's definitely separation, but I'm maintaining where I was when I started it. So you're not going to catch any complaints from me. And of course, I feel like my headspace is much better. I feel like my mental clarity is better. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like I was kind of in a tirzepatide fog. And I know that there's going to be a lot of differing opinions on this, but I feel like it had really zapped a lot of my energy. And I wasn't even aware of how much the medication itself was responsible for the lack of energy that I was feeling, because I think that I just got used to it. And it's very hard to explain. I know Hambone, she spends a lot of time with me at the office, a lot of time at our house with our kids. I think when you get into this rut of feeling chronically tired and chronically fatigued, you just are functioning. And you just kind of floating. And it's not until you get off of it and zoom back out that you realize how much it was impacting you. So on the plus side, I think that the medication is actually, I'm doing better on this than I was doing on the tirzepatide. But I don't think I would have gotten down to the weight that I'm at with what I'm on now. It's just, it's hard to say, right? It's hard to say, but I'm doing well on it. So thank you for asking. Hambone says a very fit college age kid in her life was telling her about Retta and was throwing around claims that he had heard online that it promotes muscle mass. Very interesting. Obviously, not a muscle promoting molecule. Is it safe to use research grade medication? I think that is a big question that you're going to get a wide variety of answers depending on who you ask. But I think for purposes of On the Pen, the reason that we don't encourage the use of research grade medication is because there's too wide of a spectrum of what that means for people. There are people buying it off of Telegram directly from unsavory sources overseas, all the way to versions that are actually made stateside here and come with certificates of analysis. I think it's just a very wide variety of what's out there. And unless you're extremely informed on the topic, I would encourage you to definitely steer clear of the gray market. But that said, there are many people, including many people in the On the Pen community, who choose to use research grade versions, especially of the future medications. You're not going to catch any shade from me for doing that. I think that everybody has to do what they believe is best for their health in concert with the medical providing team that they are in touch with. You know, they're going to be experts in medicine, and you're going to be an expert in you, and you ought to be able to make your own decisions. So it's very important, if you do go that route, that you are extremely, extremely informed. So definitely a lot of different opinions on that. I keep imagining this space for rent on your cap. Yeah, right. Your logo here. Research grade is for testing on animals. Federal state law prohibits research grade marked not for human consumption to be sold for people to use. But as we all know, that is definitely it is definitely sold for human use and used in humans. Many people. It's so tough to keep a great perspective without feedback from others and tracking things in detail. 100%. I get my CAG from a 503A pharmacy. It comes reconstituted. Very interesting. I hope college kids don't start overdoing GLP-1s over false claims. I hope that also. Looking forward to the next generation of GLP-1 medications is Becky. I agree with you 100%. And Valerie says she's concerned about maintaining the weight and haven't taken it off yet. I lost and regained so many times. I think that's a reasonable concern to have when you have lived the roller coaster of obesity, right? We talked the other day on our live stream on Friday about the 3 different types of hunger. Did you all catch that live stream? I hope that you did. It was a great conversation. If you didn't, I really encourage you to go back and check that out, because one of the main questions that people have when they get on a GLP-1 and they're on it for a few months is, why isn't this working for me like it does for fill in the blank, you know, their sister or their favorite influencer online? Hunger comes from 3 different areas. We always talk about how the disease of obesity is a chronic relapsing disease, but it's experienced uniquely by each individual based upon, you know, the spectrum of disease that they're experiencing. And not everyone experiences obesity the same way. And so one of the things that we found was a study in the New England Journal of Medicine that talks about the 3 different types of hunger, and how if you're experiencing, say, you know, homeostatic hunger versus hedonic hunger, how this drug may or may not help you. And so the different types of hunger that you're experiencing can all impact how well or how ineffective some of these medications are. And I think it's important for everyone to know that you don't fail a treatment fails you. And at the end of the day, that's why we get excited even on the you know, marginally exciting data about Cagrisema. We get excited about it because it's a new pathway. And for some people, it will be the answer. For some people who did not experience the full benefit of tirzepatide like somebody next to them, they will with Cagrisema. That's just going to be the case for some people. And then we have, of course, the next year where we'll be looking forward to retatrutide or retatrutide. So I think it's a very exciting time, and really get excited to learn more about the disease of obesity and help to explain some of these things that help us understand why some people sort of experience the disease of obesity and the use of these medications one way, while somebody experiences it in an entirely different way. Thank you all for hanging out with me. I don't have a ton to get into today, and I know I'm trying to save my voice because we've got a huge week. We've got earnings calls. We've got Amgen earnings call tomorrow. We've got the Lilly earnings call on Wednesday. We got the podcast tomorrow. We're going to be live on Wednesday to talk about the Eli Lilly earnings call. It's going to be a huge week. So I want to give you a chance to ask any other questions that you may have. But outside of just a few questions, we are going to wrap this one up early. Again, I've got 2 sick kids home today. I'm hoping to just maintain my health, this week and just stay healthy, because it's going to be a big week with a lot of information. I would love to encourage you to go over to obesity.news to our Substack and sign up for email alerts, because there's going to be a lot of updates this week. We're going to put an article up later today about this Cagrisema data. We're again going to be doing articles on the Eli Lilly earnings call. There's going to be MariTide data coming up, and I'm just excited to share it all with you. So I hope that you'll go over and subscribe to our Substack. Let's see. Ruben said that was some great information on Friday. Thanks again. You're welcome. Becky said, can't wait is what you had referred to concerning hunger or appetite. Yeah. So can't wait is something that I cycle on and off of. I'm currently on it, but it is a peptide called DNF10. It's orally bioavailable. I take this. You can get it at otplinks.com. It is a peptide called DNF10 that works on leptin and ghrelin. And if you wonder what leptin and ghrelin are, they're two hormones that are made in your stomach, and they're responsible for satiation and hunger. So if you have leptin floating around in your bloodstream, you're going to have a feeling of satiety. And there's something called leptin resistance. You can be resistant to that leptin. This is promotive of leptin. Now, there's also a second hormone called ghrelin. Think of your stomach growling, I'm hungry, right? Ghrelin is a hormone that's responsible for hunger. This helps to tamp down ghrelin. So it helps to promote leptin and helps to tamp down ghrelin, and it is a orally bioavailable peptide, and it's 10% off with code OTP10 at the link that I provide. You just sign up at the link that I provide, and you'll get 10% off of your order. I love it. I cycle on and off of it, but also gut feeling, because microbiota-driven hunger has to do with the microbiota, the gut bacteria in your stomach, and we're just starting to learn about gut bacteria and how gut bacteria impacts hunger. So maintaining a healthy gut in terms of prebiotics, probiotics, and different things that you can do to maintain your gut health. I take this as a huge stack of many different peptides. Akkermansia is one of the ingredients here. And then, of course, you've got something like BPC 157, which can help to heal your gut. And, of course, you got prebiotics, probiotics, KPV, which is a naturally occurring hormone that helps to increase your immunity. You've got immunity peptide A2, just a lot of good stuff in there. So I'm looking out for all three things, right? The homeostatic hunger, right? The leptin and ghrelin type of hunger, the microbiota driven hunger. And then, of course, these are going to help to address that hedonic hunger. I mean, there are many ways that you can sort of stack things ultimately to achieve the results that you're looking for. I'm not saying that this is the be all end all. It's just what I do. So if you want to learn more, you can definitely do that. George says, has anyone created an estimated timeline for Cagrisema, Retatrutide, MariTide, and VK2735? Well, I don't know that. I mean, we could definitely put something together, but I could also just tell you that, Retatrutide, the final clinical trial wraps up this year. I'm going to guess mid to late 2027 for Retatrutide. Cagrisema should be by the end of this year. By the end of 2026, we should see Cagrisema. MariTide and Viking Therapeutics are going to be sometime probably 2028. And so early to mid 2028 would be my guess on MariTide and Viking VK2735. Does can't wait help with digestion? I don't know that there's anything that particularly is a mechanism of action on digestion. If you're looking for digestion and healthy gut, you want to look at something like gut feeling for sure. Let's see here. Cicelyne says, like the video before you leave. Yes, please train the algorithm, little algorithm in the sky. So thank you for hanging out here. And thank you for being with us today. I really appreciate all of you and the support that you've given me. Again, I got to try to preserve my voice for the rest of this week. So I'm going to call it an early one today. Thank you for joining me, even though we were a little bit late jumping on today. Thank you for bearing with me. We're going to have a great week ahead of us. So make sure that you subscribe to that Substack at obesity.news. And we're going to catch you on the next one. Thanks for hanging out with me, my friend.